Hello again, everybody. So I recently just filmed a video where I broke down all of my gear for a section hike coming up, and I figured while I'm at it, why not go ahead and break down all of my clothing worn. It's been a while anyhow, so let's take a look. I'm a section hiker, and one benefit of being a section hiker is you can fine tune your gear based on the season. So in this case, the season for the gear in my other video and the clothing that you see here for this video, it's going to be mid-spring here in Sweden. The link, I'll put a link here in this video too in the description below to my, not only the video, but also the gear list, right? And that you can look, there's more information, not only on my gear, but also on my clothing worn, some things that get swapped in and out based on the temperature and all that. As I mentioned in my last video, I don't want to make, 100 different, gear lists based on just little changes. I have kind of a good core set of clothing and gear that I use, and I just make some tweaks, here and there for most of the year. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. You can see there's not much really to it here because it's not going to be all that cold, though cold snaps are quite common, here in Sweden, especially in the springtime. So all this works together well with, the two articles of pack clothing, especially that, I have in my gear list, which are, the leggings, the base layer bottoms that I wear, which are merino wool and quite toasty, and I can wear that underneath my pants. These are just a pair of like track pants, like synthetic, like nylon, and there's a mesh, layer inside too, so they dry off quickly and they breathe quite well. So I can wear that, underneath there, and then of course my puffy. If I really need to, I can layer that puffy along with the rest of my tops and all that. Now I also wanted to give a little bit more focus on these guys over here. These are my new hiking shoes. I have worn them on an overnight trip I took recently, and I have worn them on plenty of day trips and kind of walks around the neighborhood and all that. I wanted to break them in before the trip, and they're pretty broken in now, and I like them. They're a new shoe that I've not ever tried before, so this will also be not only my clothing worn, but kind of a first impression review of the Vivobarefoot Magna Trail. I think it's 2. I'm not sure, but anyhow. And I should have said this in my last video, but I'll say it now. And also, I'll write a note in the last video that I'm not sponsored. I never have been sponsored. This is just gear that I selected, on my own and paid for and everything. So, yeah. All right, so I already mentioned, the pants. These are just, you can buy these at any sporting goods store. Will have, a pair of just nylon track pants or running pants. I know that in the ultralight community, lots of, especially in the U.S., lots of hikers like to wear shorts. No thanks for me because not only for warmth, but probably the main reason is actually all the bugs here in Scandinavia. Your legs will get eaten alive by ticks, uh, hornets, or not hornets, but wasps. Then you have ants, and then you have mosquitoes, of course. And then you have these little midges or black flies that are all over, knot in Swedish that they're called. And so there are lots of different bugs. And so as the temperatures are warming up, there are a few now. That's one nice thing about spring is there's not that many, but there are out there. They're definitely, the ticks. I've already removed a few ticks from my cats. So tick season is here, right? So I always wear pants year round. So, but yeah, nothing special about those pants. If you're looking to save some dough, I highly recommend just getting a pair of just, synthetic nylon or polyester track pants. Now, of course, I have, underwear and socks. There's not much to say about that, of course. But the gaiters, though, they work great with the pants because then the pants tuck into the gaiters and then the gaiters are on the shoes. I'll save the shoes for last, but let's just get rid of everything else. Let's talk about everything else. Over here, you see a mask, of course. It's still the pandemic. Obviously, things are getting better. And just for the record, I will be traveling by train and a bus, but I'm going to be socially distant, and I'm also traveling on off-peak hours, so there's not going to be that many people. And on top of that, I am traveling to one of the more isolated parts of Sweden. It's like, the population's quite low, the density's quite low. Yeah. So the mask, of course, and then of course, if I wanted to, if the temperatures do drop, if there is a cold snap or at night, I can always wear that for a slight bump in warmth. And if anything, too, your breath, it helps to, warm up your breath, breathing in and out. But I doubt I'll have to resort to that. Hopefully, knock on wood, there won't be any crazy cold snap. Now, underneath the mask is a buff, right? And you probably already know all about a buff. It's a scarf. It's another hat. It's a pot grabber. It's it has many great uses and one of my favorite articles of clothing. All right, all the way over here we have a polyester windbreaker or wind jacket. My trail gear. I'm a big fan of it. It fits me well, and I decided to get a beefier wind jacket. For years, I used a 10D nylon, ripstop nylon wind jacket, and it worked great. But then when I switched over to this one, I couldn't resist the price either. It was very affordable. This is a 20D polyester, and it really did actually make a difference in warmth and blocking the wind and all that. Okay, then we're working our way toward the core now. This is just a long sleeve polyester like workout shirt. Again, sporting goods store, cheap. It's lightweight. This actually, even though it's long sleeve, because it's quite thin and breathable, weighs as much as like some t-shirts do actually. Yep. And then speaking of t-shirts, at the very bottom of the onion layers, right? I have a t-shirt. This is a merino wool t-shirt. So I have, the t-shirt and then the long sleeve shirt. And then if I need to, of course, the jacket. And then if it gets really cold, then the puffy, right? But when I'm hiking, if the weather is nice, I'll probably either have, if it's really warm, just the t-shirt, but I doubt it's going to get that warm. Probably wear, both of those. And then if it's windy, the wind jacket. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward stuff here we're talking about, and pretty minimalist, clothing that we're working with. Now the shoes. All right, I'm actually going to get a bit closer here, pick them up, show them off, and all that. So these are, as you can tell, zero drop minimalist hiking shoes, and so far I really like them, but of course I need to, will they stand the test of time? How will they compete with my other shoes that I've worn? Like the Lems Boulder Boots has been my go-to shoe for several years now, and I've been happy with it, but there is, some room for improvement. For example, and this is promising, this is like a kind of, I don't want to call it mesh, but it's like it's they say it's a water resistant, and I have to say that so far so good with that. A water resistant fabric, and actually it breathes pretty well. I have to say that so far I'm impressed with how well that it breathes. Definitely breathes better than the Lems, and I like to this fabric that's, hold on, let me just get a better grip here. That's on the ankles here. This fabric kind of hugs the ankles, and it's pretty comfortable. It's like a stronger kind of elastic type material. But yeah, they're comfortable. The foot box, as you can see, is very wide. There's a reinforced toe there. But now let's take a look at the soles and the grip. That's one thing I also have to say is pretty positive so far. Impressions is the grip. It's pretty good, better than the Lems again with the grip. But now I will say one thing that is perhaps a drawback, but I can see where they're going with the soles here, though. So let me explain. A potential drawback is that the soles are much tougher. Like when I try and press on them, right? The sole of this shoe is a more like more tough material. It feels more plasticky but rubbery at the same time, whereas the Lems boots, they're more rubbery sole. Now they both have different pros and cons. Like a more rubbery sole, that's going to be, it's going to go easier on your feet and maybe your knees and hips, from all the repeated stress of hiking. However, if you step on a sharp root or rock or branch or something, that softer sole, you're gonna feel it more. And that's definitely happened with the Lems. Not often, but it does happen. If it's, especially if it's dark and you're tired, you step on a sharp stone, and ouch. Now, I've never run into any injuries because of this, I should also say. Um, but it has, it is, something to take into consideration. With these shoes, the soles, because they're, more resilient overall, I don't notice the sharp, kind of stuff you step on, like stones and sticks and stuff, as much. But one drawback is because it's tougher material, it's also a bit tougher on my feet, I've noticed. On this overnight hike that I took, this, short trip, I only hiked in, the second day I only hiked, I think, like 17 or 18 kilometers, but my feet, it felt like I had hiked, double that, like maybe 25, 30, kilometers, or, but this is all just subjective. And also what should be, emphasized is that this was in the process of breaking them in. There are new shoes and all that, but I just wanted to kind of get this off my chest. Like a first impression of these shoes. So far so good. This is going to be a more rigorous test on this. It's like a 3.5 day trip, but overall, so far so good. The only thing I did to modify them, I like the laces too. I actually have to say they're reflective, and I like them. They are good laces. But the only thing I did to modify them was to add. You're not going to be able to see it, but inside I added a gel insole. And that just helps with the just the impact, to make it, a bit softer, cushioning. Yeah, so just, some thin gel insoles for comfort. Um, and that's it. So, all right, that's my clothing worn. New shoes, always a constant struggle for hikers. Not only if you hike a lot, do you have to replace shoes often because you burn through them, but finding the right one, there are always changes and new models, and even existing models that have been around for a while, there are new versions, and the versions are better or worse depending on the year. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys are getting out there. And yeah, you don't need to spend a fortune on fancy clothing. That's one area I've said before you can actually save money on. And then, of course, saving money on some of these other layers, you can splurge a bit on nicer shoes. Okay, that's it. Take care. Happy trails to you, and goodbye.